So what we have designed into our daily schedules that are very similar to the daily schedules that you've been experiencing up to this point are asynchronous blocks. So those are blocks where teachers have time to check in on the students that didn't make it face-to-face or synchronously, but also to pull small groups of students possibly or individual students for some additional tutoring or some additional support. And so what I think would be the best way to offer clarification in response to this question is to ask Dr. Fuller to come on and kind of walk our families through an elementary, middle, and high school example of what their schedule is going to look like.
All right, good evening. So Brandon has displayed the K through 2 sample schedule when we have kids back in the building. So it is if you saw the one before, it's the same color scheme. So we tried to keep it very similar to what you've seen in the past. This is a sample schedule because the blocks of time could be moved around in your school depending on when recess might be, math might be in the afternoon, or literacy might be in the morning. But it's the same format, just it might be at different times throughout the day. So the green shows synchronous. That's the live face-to-face. If students are participating remote but live, then they'll be participating in the green sections. And then the blended is in the blue. So what we have in the column is the first column. And if you go just up just a little bit so they can see the headers. So the first column, well, it's actually the third column, I should say, shows the synchronous in person. So if my child is sitting in the classroom, this will be my schedule. If my child is at home, but wanting to join the live lesson and be a part of it, the classroom just from your home, they'll be following that classroom. And then if they're asynchronous, that's the last column, and they can participate at any time during the day as long as they complete their assignments by 11:59 that evening. So that's just kind of the overall structure of the chart itself. So as you can see, for example, in K through 2, math in this sample would be starting at 7:45. The students that were in the classroom would be joining, of course, live, and then the students synchronously would be joining from their computer at home. So if you go through the day, you kind of see when independent practice would be. We've flip-flopped some things so the teacher could work with the students in the classroom and also work with the students that would be synchronous remote at home to be able to have that one-on-one and small group time with all the students that are participating in learning. We also have what we're calling right there, Brandon, at like 150, asynchronous support times. So what this time is it's a time for teachers to support those asynchronous students who are at home that aren't joining live or that aren't sitting in front of them. And so the students that are sitting in front of them won't be engaging in independent practice, and the students can get into their Google Classroom. They can answer any questions. They can provide the students with feedback. If parents have emailed them, they'll be able to give them an opportunity to respond to emails or help or support. If a student that is asynchronous wants to jump on and needs some extra help, that would be an opportunity for them to provide kind of that tutoring or additional support. So we've built those periods in for elementary throughout the day so that teachers have the flexibility to support the students that are in their classroom, the students that are remote synchronous, that are live face-to-face, and then those students who will be doing work at different times of the day up until 11:59 at night. So that's K through 2. 3 through 5 is very similar. The difference between K through 2 and 3 through 5 is that some of the things that we focus on instructionally are a little bit different. So we focus heavily on phonics in K through 2, but 3 through 5, we focus more on grammar and some other things. So that's the difference there, but it's very similar. The other thing that we've done is we've built in lunch and recess for an hour so that students have an opportunity and the campus has an opportunity to make sure that we are social distancing, providing ample time for students to get their lunches, to engage in recess, as well as parents that are at home. If you need to come to school to get your lunch or food, you have time to travel, get to school, and then be able to be back at home in time to join synchronously. So we changed that a little bit than what you might have experienced right now for lunch and recess. Again, you see the asynchronous support time. So that's the general overview for the K through or K through 5 schedules, and pre-K is very similar. middle school, and high school are also very similar to what students are experiencing right now. The difference will be that your lunch times might be a little bit different than that's notated right here, but the blocks of time as far as first period, second period, third period, fourth period, that's all going to be on Monday, all going to be the way it's kind of here, except for middle school on Friday, it'll be a little bit different. We are having what we're calling asynchronous support time before and after our periods of time. The asynchronous support time, much like the elementary, is that time for teachers to support students that are asynchronously in school. So if they need tutoring, extra support, and this can also be for students who are in school and or provide that are synchronous. If your child is struggling, or they just need a little bit more time with content, or they need a reteach. These are the times that we've designated to provide that extra support for those students, as well as support for teachers to be able to respond to Google Classrooms, respond and give feedback to the work that they're doing that they might not be doing live, so that students are getting frequent feedback and they know how they're progressing and performing within classes.
I want to point one thing out, Shannon, if it's okay.
Please.
Go back up. Ran into so Tuesday, Thursday, or either day there. Okay. So the 7:30 to 9 o'clock asynchronous time, buses are going to be dropping students off. School starts at 7:30 and it ends at 4:20. Now, if your child rides the bus and they're at school during that window of time, they have some time for them to do some independent work, to catch up on, tasks that they need to complete, to study, to be in study groups, possibly small groups, but they could also get some tutoring during that time as well. Now, if your child's doing really well and they choose to use that time on their own at home to catch up on work, etc., and they have the ability to get a ride to school, you can drop them off, then they don't technically have to be at school until closer to 9, because they would be independent on their own from 7:30 to 9, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, they can stay from 2:20 to 4:20 and receive tutoring. They can complete work. They can, there are several things at the secondary level, whether it's athletics or fine arts, that they may be engaged in during that time as well. Or if they're not in any of those things and they're academically on track and you are ready to pick them up and they want to be independent at home on their own time from 2:20 to 4:20, then you can pick them up at that time. So that's a little bit different, and that's a point that I want to make clear to families. Your children can be at school from 7:30 to 4:20, but if they're tracking, they can make a decision about what they want to do between 7:30 and 9 and 2:20 to 4:20 as it relates to their own academic progress independently. But those are some times where tutoring support can take place.
Okay.
Or your child might be engaging in homework or work that they would need to do for their classes for that day. Great point. Thank you, Mr. Toscano. High school, very similar to what it is now, very similar to what we just said in middle school, where they have their periods throughout the day. They have their asynchronous support on the beginning and the end of the day to help with additional support or asynchronous support time. So it's the two are very similar in regards to the structure. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Toscano?
Nope. Again, very similar. The difference is, the high school has 7 classes, not 8. And so at the junior high, they would have 4 and 4. And at the high school, like they do now, they'll have 4 classes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and 2 classes on Tuesday, Thursday, or 3 rather, but those 3 would be longer classes than the Monday, Wednesday, Friday courses to make sure that they have comparable instructional minutes.